shift from the United States to potentially, Gulf states, as well as African nations is going to be critically important for the European Union, especially in light of what the Trump administration may be proposing and carrying out with increased tariffs, not just on China, but across the board. And so you've seen the EU understand the need to pivot both internally and work ways into increase trade liberalization within the EU, but also to expand to different regions in which they traditionally have not sought those relationships.
And with Trump, of course, promising to put pretty heavy tariffs on countries outside of the United States in trade. What do you expect for the future of EU-US relations when it comes to trade?
It could be very tense moving forward, unfortunately, and I think that is to the detriment of the relationship between the United States and the EU, but also to the detriment of consumers and more innovation and more economic prosperity. I worry that if the US and the EU are engaged in some sort of trade war moving forward, it's going to decrease productivity and it's going to regress the free trade ambitions that we've had that's led to so much economic prosperity. And it's not just the US either. We have to remember that the EU is implementing a carbon border adjustment mechanism, or effectively a carbon tariff that could be implemented on US industries and other parts of the world. So there's a lot of trade tariffs talk, not just from Trump, but from other countries and the EU as well.
Are we witnessing the slow death of globalization?
Boy, I hope not. Given the economic and environmental benefits that we've seen from globalization, I think it would be a huge mistake for countries to retreat. I do think we are trending towards more economic populism and nationalization. I think in spite of that, though, the large majority of trade will still move forward because of the benefits. That said, there's being more protectionism, there's being more industrial policy for certain industries. And I think that's going to continue. And what countries justify for national security purposes with respect to countries like China and Russia, and some others, I do think that there's going to be more investment in specific industries and more protectionism in specific industries.
And what would you say are the major challenges facing the WTO? And how do you think the EU's role within the WTO might influence the future of global trade?
I think the biggest challenge with the WTO is coming to conclusions and enforcement faster. A lot of the damage that has been done by countries dumping and by countries going around WTO rules and regulations. The damage was done after the fact. By the time the WTO comes to its conclusion, industries are already suffering from those policies and those anti-dumping initiatives. So I think the WTO needs to restructure in a way that has stronger teeth, but also comes to decisions much more quickly so that any ramifications for these anti-trade policies that increase benefits from trade are corrected much earlier in the process.
And in regards to the president of the European Central Bank's statements, how can deeper economic integration within the EU help Europe to navigate the increasing global trade tensions and also growing technology, the growing technology gap with the United States?
That's going to be critically important. And I think seeing what some countries within the EU have already said and promised, I think any opportunities to continue to reduce trade barriers, to open up energy access, to leverage artificial intelligence capabilities, those are going to be paths forward where there can be more efficiency in trade within the European Union. And there have been, I think, some regrettable mistakes within the EU in terms of energy decisions to move too quickly on net zero policies, which have shuttered and not moving away from Russian gas, for instance, I think there's much more urgency to have that energy abundance. And that, in combination with the technological advancements and the uses of artificial intelligence, I think that can really streamline some opportunities for more EU country cooperation.